Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very sad and final installment of our Buying for Beginners series with me, Max The Chieftain Hurley. And in this final part, we're going to be looking at the army that most people miss the most with the transition from fantasy to AOS, which is the Tomb Kings. So, like all our other Buying for Beginner videos, we'll be focusing on 3 competitive army lists and explaining the best value for money options for the units in each of those lists. So alongside the Bretonnians, the Tomb Kings were an army that was not only completely squatted from the game, but also one of the first to have their entire range put on the last chance to buy section, and as such has had their entire range removed from general sale. This was mightily upsetting for many reasons, the first being that they were a fan favourite from a look perspective, and it was also sad to see them eventually go. And secondly, it meant that the models were placed on market sites at extortionate prices due to their rarity. This makes the purchase of Tomb King's army an expensive venture, and unless you can afford it, puts the prospect of having an army of the bony boys unrealistic. However, with the advent of 3D printing and many more third-party designers in the world, the chance to have the curse reap a tally amongst your enemies is much closer to home than it has been for a while. So, now on to the main event. I'm going to go through some competitive army lists and take you through exactly what you need to buy for each unit or character and give you the best cost I could find for each of them. The first list is going to be 1500 points, the second will be 2000, and the final one will be a Triple Crown Wargaming event standard, 2500 points. In each one, I'll try to keep as many of the units and characters the same, so you can slowly build up your Tomb King's force and not end up with units sitting in a case gathering dust by the end of it. Although I think all of us are guilty of having those units that we used to use and no longer do. So for the 1500 point list I've got with me today, I've got a Liche Priest, who's a level 4 on the Law of Nehekhara, with a Talisman of Preservation and the Power Stone. With him is a level 1 Liche Priest on the Law of Light with a Dispel Scroll. In core, we have 22 Skeleton Archers with full command, and 3 units of 5 Skeleton Horse Archers. In special, we have 28 Tomb Guard armed with Halberds, full command and a banner of the Undying Legion, and rounded out in the rare section with a Hierotitan and a Casket of Souls. So onto the characters first then, I'm going to start with our Hierophant, and we're going to take a look at Reaper miniatures, and then Neb-Nessu, Warlord of Nehekhara, and that really is a mouthful to say in one go. He looks pretty regal and does the job quite nicely, so he gets the job done. He comes in at £8.18, and that also includes VAT. Into the hero slot, next we have our little level 1 Law of Light Liche Priest, and we can't have him upstage in the big Hierophant. So sticking with Reaper miniatures, we're going to be using Sokar's Prophet, the Nehekhara Cleric. So this guy fits the bill for a lowly apprentice, and we're going to be grabbing him for £8.19 alongside Neb-Nessu. Moving on to core, and our main bulk of the points are going to go into our Skeleton Archer unit. So we're going to move away from Reaper miniatures and take a look at Mantic Games and their reinvigorated Kingdoms of Dust range, and use their Skeleton Warrior set. These can be assembled in a variety of ways, but we're going to use the bows, obviously. They come in boxes of 20 for £25 each, so we're going to have to buy 2, which may seem like overkill, but the rest will come in handy later. So £50 for the both. And our last core choices are 3 units of 5 Skeleton Horse Archers. So again, we're going to be taking another look at another provider for these miniatures, and we're going to take a look back at an old friend of ours in the Lost Kingdom, and their Undead Skeleton Horsemen. Now, as I said in the Chaos Dwarf Buy for Beginners, the Lost Kingdom provides the file only, but we have found an Etsy store that does also print out the figures as well, at a high quality, and they're called 3D Mini Market. The link for who will be below. So they print off 5 of the horsemen for £24. A steep price, but these guys are used in every list, so a wise investment that costs £72. And into special, and we have the heaviest infantry that the Tomb Kings have to offer, and that's Tomb Guard. We're sticking with Lost Kingdom and 3D Mini Market for this one, with the Undead Skeletons with Halberds. There are weirdly 13 models in each order at the price of £22 each, so we'll need 3 sets. Again, this is pricey, but they're going to be using each list, so we will buy at the £66 price tag. And finally, into our rare section, sticking with Lost Kingdoms and 3D mini market again for our Casket of Souls. This is labelled as the Lost Kingdoms Undead and Menethys and fits the aesthetic of the casket so well. It looks really cool. It's £18 and we will be snapping it up. And finally, we have our last model, and that is the imposing Hierotitan. We're going to go back to Mantic Games for this one, and the Empire of Dust range for the Idol of Shobik model that has just been recently released at the time of recording. It looks suitably Egyptian and works really well. Snap that bad boy up for £32.50. So that rounds out the 1500 point list, and we currently sit on £254.87. Now this is a steep price, but the main bulk of everything has now been bought, so the price won't shoot up that much more from here on in, and it's still cheaper than trying to find the original GW models. Next, I'm going to move on to the 2000 point list then. Again, I have a level 4 Liche Priest on the lore of Nehekhara with a Talisman of Preservation and the Power Stone, and our Liche Priest has been upgraded to a level 2 on the lore of Light, but still with a Dispel scroll. In core, we have 2 units of 20 skeleton archers this time, and the same 3 units of 5 skeleton horse archers. Special is similar, with a 28 Tomb Guard of Halberds full command and a banner of Undying legions making a return, but this time backed up with a Khemrian War Sphinx with Fiery Roar and Envenom Sting upgrades. With the rare section almost the same, with the Hierotitan and Casket of Souls being supported by a Screaming Skull catapult. So what do you need to add to this list over the first? Not much is the answer. All we will need is a few more skeleton archers and the addition of the Khemrian War Sphinx and the Screaming Skull catapult. Now, because we invested in 2 sets of the skeleton warriors from Mantic Games, we have all the archers that we will need. So we just need to take a look at the War Sphinx and the catapult. For the big undead cat statue, we're going to go back to Lost Kingdom and the 3D mini market for what I think is a great substitute. The undead war elephant is a great looking model for the War Sphinx, and even though it's not cat-like or a sphinx, it gives off that suitably monstrous vibe to it. So we'll take it at £28. And if you've looked at the genuine War Sphinx on market sites, you will know it's a massive bargain. And for the Screaming Skull catapult, once again, Mantic's revamped Empire of Dust range gives us the Balefire catapult. Now, it's not as big as the OG catapult, but that will be hard to beat really. So it does the job, and at relatively decent price as well, being £18. So we'll add the one we need to the basket. And that's it. That brings us to the end of the 2000 point list. Not a lot really added to the list, and with the big undead elephant and the catapult, our total has risen up to £300.87. So not too big of an increase, as I said at the beginning, but let's see if we can keep that going. For today's final list, yet again, we have our mainstay level 4 Nehekhara Liche Priest with a Talisman of Preservation and a Power Stone, now backed up by an additional level 4 Lore of Light Liche Priest with the Dispel Scroll and an Obsidian Amulet. In Heroes, there are 2 lowly Lich Priests on the Lore of Light each, both level 1s and both with no other items. Our core is bulked up to 2 units of skeleton archers this time, one being 24 and the other being 25, and both have full commands, and we now have 4 units of skeleton horse archers. In special, there are 30 Tomb Guard with Halberds full command, and they've swapped the banner of the Undying Legion for the Razor standard, with their Khemrian War Sphinx with Fiery Roar backing up as per normal. And finally, the rare section is the Hierotitan, the Casket of Souls, and we have 2 Screaming Skull catapults. There really isn't much to add to this list again either, to be honest. Just a few more Tomb Guard and Skeleton Archers, another unit of Skeleton Horse Archers, another Screaming Skull catapult, and the 2 additional Lich Priests. As with the Archers before, we have all the Tomb Guard that we'll need from the 3 sets we already bought, but we need to bump up some of the other stuff. So we need a few more Skeleton Archers, and unfortunately that will require us to get another box of Mantic Skeleton Warriors for another £25. It is the same for the Skeleton Horse Archers as well, as we'll need to buy another set of Lost Kingdoms Undead Skeleton Horsemen from 3D Mini Market for another £24 as well. But it's all for the good of Nehekhara. Once again, we'll need our second Screaming Skull catapult. So again, enough to get another one there, and that will add another £18 to the total price tag once you buy the Balefire catapult from Mantic Games. So let's add some new models to the army, shall we, for our final 2 casters, and we shall be going back to Reaper miniatures. For the level 4 on light, we're going to use Fatima, Nehekhara cleric. She looks both Egyptian and very angelic, which suits the aesthetic of the Nehekhara and light mage perfectly, and she comes in at £4.54. Alongside her, we'll be taking Sokar's disciple, the Nehekhara mage. Again, with the big mirror he's carrying, he feels just like the acolytes of Liche Priest on the Law of Light. So let's grab him also for £4.54. And that's it. That's all you need to make the 2,000 point list I went through earlier into this 2,500 point list. So what would that all come to? Well, with the addition of the additional archers, horse archers, catapults, and 2 wizards, our total for models will be £376.95. This is certainly a far cry from what you would be spending on the original models themselves, however, so you have to look at it from that side of things as well. As always, a small note of caution is bases. You'll need to source these separately, as a lot of the models are supplied of incorrect base sizes or shapes for Warhammer Fantasy, or none at all. I found the best Games Workshop equivalent bases are from Tiny Worlds Wargaming. They will come with a slot on the underside of the base to make magnetising them really simple. And they also sell magnets and movement trays, so you can get everything you need in one place. What I will say this time, though, is that the majority of the models that we have in these armies today will be supplied with bases as is. That being the skeleton archers, the catapult, the Hierotitan, and the 4 characters, leaving only the 3 printed models to get bases for. Tiny Worlds do all the bases we need, that being 30 20mm bases for the Tomb Guard, a singular 100 by 150mm base for the War Sphinx, and 20 cavalry bases for the Horse Archers. For the 20mm, we'll need 2 sets of 20, which will be £7.98, a set of 2 100 by 150mm for £3.99, and 2 sets of cavalry bases for £7.99. With these 3 purchases, our ground total for everything will be £396.90. So just under £400. And again, I keep bringing it back up. When you compare it to the OG models that you see on market sites like eBay or whatnot, like that will get you 2 Khemrian War Sphinxes if you're lucky at that point in time. They're really expensive. So all in all, it's really not that bad. So beyond that, what competitive options can you add to the final list? Now, Tomb Kings aren't really known for the competitiveness, but there are a few options. You can discard the Tomb Guard for another Khemrian War Sphinx, or swap both the Tomb Guard and the first Khemrian War Sphinx for a big unit of Necropolis Knights, which are both really good and can be a nightmare for many opponents. The Khemrian War Sphinx being toughness 8, and the Necropolis Knights being 3 wounds with 3 up arm save, and you get to bring him back to life. If that's not what you're after, you could dip into the end times if you're using the Triple Crown Wargaming Compact and take some Morghast, either being the Archive variants or the Harbinger variants, which are both a good option. So you have a few options out there. As I said, they're not particularly known for being competitive, but you have to take what you're given. So I hope today's snippet has helped you understand what we believe are the best choices for a competitive Tomb Kings army, and hopefully it's shown you little ways to save bits of money too. If you've got any suggestions you think we missed, or if you want to know what we've used for certain units that are no longer available from Games Workshop, head over to any of our socials at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or email us directly, all the links for which are below, and we'll do the best to help you out. And from us at Triple Crown Wargaming, that's it for the Buy for Beginner series. We hope you really enjoyed it, and we hope it helped you buy and build all the armies you were looking to build from the death of poor Warhammer Fantasy. But that is it. So thank you very much, and head back to Night of the Realm Mustering Ground, where you can find links to all of our other exclusive content.
Remember to tag your friends and like, subscribe and share. Then head over to triplecrownwargaming.com and become a Knight of the Realm today.
What are you doing, mate?
You alright?